And in this week's Growing, Eating, and Educating, Nanbop Farm Director Jason Abraham takes us to the indoor grow at the farm.
The leafy greens are getting some stellar treatment. Let's get our hands dirty.
Hey everybody, Jason, Farm Director at Nanbop, back in our basement. Here we're showing you some new starts that we've got going for our leafy green mix. Here in front of me, I've got some new ones that are starting. And what you can see is I've got these lights slung pretty low. And the reason for it is you can see these starts have a tendency to get very leggy. And by leggy, I mean they're gonna grow too tall too fast. When that happens, they become very weak and they need to actually be stilted with dirt to hold them up if that's the case. So what we do is we drop the lights really low enough to keep the light spread across everything, but at the same time it's not so high that the plant is going to be reaching for sunlight. You're trying to develop a very strong base of a leafy green if you're going to cut and come again, because you need that plant to be hardy enough to withstand the stress of you harvesting in that manner. So to give them the best start right from the beginning, we really like to drop these lights low. I could even probably drop them down even another inch, and they would be very happy if I did that. And then as they continue to grow, we're gonna go ahead and raise them up. By next week, they'll be raised up another 2 inches. You really wanna give yourself the best opportunity for a successful transplant when it's time and the spring has come. All right, so what I wanted to show you guys now is how to make soil blocks. We use soil blocks for certain plants that we grow, mostly on the herb side. The herbs seem to respond a lot better with them. The beauty of a soil block is you have air available on all sides of the block instead of being in a small pot that is locked off from air. So you get a really good oxygenation. This here is a 4-block soil blocker. And you can see inside there's a plunger, and on each plunger there's actually an indentation marker that allows for your seed hole. So you don't have to go back after you're done making the blocks and actually add the dot. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your good potting mix, but you're gonna make sure it's wet and that you can squeeze it and it stays together in form. If it falls apart, it's dry. If it squeezes out water, it's too wet. So you wanna make sure you have a nice even moisture in there. Pour your water in, get a good mix on it, make sure you're evenly mixed. Then take your soil blocker, go directly into the soil, wiggle, and then move the same width away, do the same thing again. When you turn it over, you can see there's actually a raised portion. Then I just take my hand and I just wash it off, just wipe it down, get it clean. And then I'm gonna set this down, and with a little bit of force downward so that I get those dots to happen, I will deploy. And you can see not every one of them works perfectly. However, if you separate them, you can see they each have a dot where I can go ahead and put seeds in. But the beauty of the soil block is, as you can see, you have the ability for the roots to get air all the way around, which in starts, getting oxygen to those roots is vitally important so that the roots don't die off and drown a lot of times when they have a pot around them, because the water stays in and it stays in too long. The beauty of this is I can then take this out to the field and I can just drop this straight into a hole and it's ready to go. All right, now you can see here we've got our parsley. In our parsley, we did go ahead and do soil blocks on the parsley because we are going to be transplanting this outside. But what I wanted to show you is if you gently wiggle this apart, you can see all the roots on the sides and on the bottom. And if I take this empty block and gently pull that out, you can see it is laden with roots. And this is very healthy, very strong. All the roots are white, and baby white roots are what you look for. White roots are the roots that do the drinking, if you will. The smaller the root, the more water it'll uptake. And when you get a good setup of roots like this, it's much easier to harvest the come and go that we've talked about in the past, because the plant is so strong and healthy, it can handle it because it has such a great root system and has such great access to oxygen. So for me, for herbs, this is by far my favorite way to do this. So you can see here we're watering these leafy greens that we went and propped up the other day with some dirt. And I gave them 2 days to go ahead and get comfortable with the new dirt that was applied around the base of the plant. And now that I'm watering it, I'm making sure I'm using my softest sprinkler that we have here on my hand waterer. Makes it a very delicate watering, doesn't really flood out the dirt, doesn't move the dirt around, gives the leaf a little bit of moisture to it, and allows us to keep the kickstands that I've formed out of dirt in place without washing them out. Since we water these plants daily, I don't have to overdo it when I water. I can really make sure it's a nice even watering. It's not over watering, because the last thing I want to do is over water, because when I over water, the plants start to yellow out. And when they start to yellow out, the first thing you'll notice that happens is you'll actually lose production on that particular plant. So you really want to avoid overwatering. Underwatering with leafy greens is easy. Overwatering is easy to do, but it's very detrimental to the plant. All right, guys, so just a quick recap of what we did today down here in the basement. We talked about lowering your lights for your sprouts so that you get the best par levels and you don't get leggy plants. We talked about using soil blocks and what the advantage is to those soil blocks, and I showed you how to make those soil blocks. Very simple, very easy. We also discussed how to properly water these baby plants so that you're not washing everything out and you're actually getting a good, strong base on those plants that will support your cut and come again mentality and style. So once again, thanks for coming, thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you guys down here in the basement again soon.